Are you lonesome tonight? Do you miss me tonight? Are you sorry we drifted apart? Does your memory...
All right, we're back.
Hi, guys.
Welcome back to Significant Lovers.
We are your hosts. I am Mel.
And I'm Kel. And we're cousins.
Yes, we're cousins. And this is a true love podcast when we look back on couples in pop culture and history.
Yes. And it's almost Halloween. If you're listening to this in real time, you might not be. You might be listening to this way in the future. But we recorded this to be near Halloween. And, you know, I like to pick couples when we're getting close to the spooky season that are sort of Halloween themed. It's hard, you know, most people aren't living their life Halloween 24/7. Last year we did, what's his name? Helena Bonham Carter and Tim Burton. That was Halloween-esque. So I picked Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise because, well, I've wanted to do them for a while. We've also had them requested a bunch of times. I wrote down Brittany, Rachel, and Felicia have requested them. But I know some other people have too. But I feel like they're kind of Halloween-esque because there's going to be mentions of aliens, vampires, cults, creepy behavior. They were in the movie Eyes Wide Shut together, which I watched over the weekend, and it's a little creepy. It's kind of like Illuminati vibes. So we can get into the spooky feeling with this couple, I think.
Before we get into the episode, should we share our big announcement for the podcast?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, what time is better than now? Yeah. We have a big announcement to make. Huge.
So a lot of you guys have been following us for years, and we've gone by Kel and Mel, two cousins. We started off with our Twilight podcast, Another Bite of Twilight, and we've just been the two of us podcasting together for 7 years, I think.
Oh my gosh, really?
We started in 2018, and now it's 6 years. 6 years we've been podcasting together.
That's crazy.
We are adding a third co-host to our podcast. So we will be Kel and Mel and Kate, or Mel and Kel and Kate. And my cousin, Kelly's sister, Caitlin, is going to be joining us as a full-time co-host. You guys might remember her from our Larry episode, Larry Tomlinson and Harry Styles. She took charge on that. She is our resident historian. She runs our YouTube and listens to every episode, and we thought it's time that we make it official with her hosting the podcast, which will be so fun to have her on the show.
She's being promoted. And I think if you guys like our duo, you know, our dynamic, I don't think it's going to change that much. I hope you're not worried about that or anything, or I don't know, maybe that's conceited of me to think. But she's just as close to us. I mean, she's my sister. She's Mel's cousin. We've spent our whole lives together. So we're going to have the same, you know, familial, joking dialogues that we have now. And yeah, I think she's going to bring a great new perspective to it too. Yeah. So I'm excited.
Yeah, just more insight to add to the discussions. And she'll be starting in 2 episodes. So not next episode, but the one after that.
I think on Halloween, right? That will be the episode. Yeah. So she'll be with us on that one. Really excited. Show her some love when she does join, you know, on social media or Patreon, whatever. But we're really excited.
Yeah. But okay, so back to Nicole and Tom. Kel, what 3 words would you use to describe this couple?
Oh my God. The 3 words. The 3 words I would use are all-consuming.
Ooh.
I know that's 2 words, but manipulative.
Uh-oh.
And egotistical.
Oh, no. These are, like, basically all negative.
All-consuming could be exciting.
I think it could, but I feel like it skews negative.
Yeah. Depends how old you are. I feel like when I was younger, I would love that.
Yeah.
I got really into the research for this, guys. I love when this happens. Like, I could not stop. I was reading this Tom Cruise unauthorized biography by Andrew Morton, and I could not stop. I was addicted to it. I stayed up way too late reading it. So that was one source I used. I also used this book called The Hollywood Book of Breakups by James Robert Parrish, and as well as some other online sources and articles. But this is a really juicy one, and there's a lot, so I guess I should just get into it. One half of this couple is Nicole Kidman. We've all seen Nicole Kidman in movies. Yeah. She's in so many movies. It's actually crazy when you stop to think about it.
I feel like every actor has worked with Nicole Kidman.
Yes. I just did a quick Google search, and I don't know if we can trust this because it's like the automated answer, but she's been in at least 83 movies, it says.
Wow.
How many movies has Tom Cruise been in? 44. Wow. So she's done like double the movies he has.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Yes. She is a serious actress, but she was born Nicole Mary Kidman in 1967 on January 20th in Honolulu, Hawaii. Her Australian parents, her Australian parents were in Hawaii because her father was a biochemist doing cancer research there, and her mother was a nursing teacher. So they were just living in Hawaii temporarily. And then they relocated to D.C. for her father to keep doing research, and her younger sister was born there in 1970. Then the whole family moved back to Sydney, Australia when Nicole was 4. So even though she'd probably have very little memories of life in the U.S., Nicole was a dual citizen of both U.S. and Australia. So she still is. Nicole grew very tall at a young age to 5'10", and had curly red hair. She still does, but she often straightens it and bleaches it blonde now, which makes me a little sad. Maybe she has gray hair now, but I wish we would see the red hair more often. Even though she's so beautiful, when she was a tween and young teenager, she felt, because she was really tall and had this bright red curly hair, she felt like it made her the ugliest person on earth, which is sad. So to kind of boost her confidence, she found refuge in theater, and she started performing at Sydney's Phillip Street Theatre. So bigger shows than her high school or anything like that. And when she was 15, she landed a role in the movie Bush Christmas, about Christmas in the bush, which I think is a big Australian Christmas movie, but I had never heard of it over here in America. She was then in an Australian miniseries called Vietnam, and she was becoming an Australian teen star, and she left high school early at age 16 to focus on her acting. She's been called, even back then, she was called very strong-minded and willful and rebellious even, which I would not have expected for her. And when she was 17, she fell in love with a 37-year-old Dutch man.
Ooh.
And with her parents' blessing, she went to Amsterdam with him. What?
That reminds me of Priscilla Presley's parents.
Yes! I wrote that in my notes. I was like, what the heck? This is like Priscilla. She traveled around Europe with this guy for 6 months, and then they broke up. And then I guess she lived with another older man. So she kind of already had a thing for moving fast, I would say, and being a little reckless. When she returned to Australia, apparently her mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. And so Nicole put her acting ambitions on pause for a bit to be with her family. But her mom, I think, did get better. She began dating the Australian TV actor Marcus Graham and lived with him. And as she got older, I've read that Nicole's often been described as a little aloof, maybe a little bit snobby, but polite. I think she comes off very low-key, but I think she actually is very ambitious, like maybe more ambitious than you would. Obviously, she's been in 80-something movies, but
yeah,
it's very deliberate, I think. But she is very, very talented, and I think she's somebody that I don't think she needs to anymore because she's just such a star, but I think back in the day she would do whatever it took to get ahead in her acting career. When she was 22 or so, she was in an Australian TV miniseries, and then she was in the movie Dead Calm. And apparently when Tom Cruise saw the movie Dead Calm, he said, "Who is that girl? I have to work with her."
Okay.
So who is Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
We've heard of him.
I've heard of him.
Yeah,
Sounds
I heard
familiar.
of him. I actually can't believe it's taken, is this episode 97?
I think it's 98.
98 to get to Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
The Andrew Morton book I thought was interesting described Tom Cruise as what you see is not what you get.
Oh. I feel like that's like kind of a bad quality.
We'll see. He was born Thomas Cruise Mapother the Fourth on July 3rd, 1962 in Syracuse, New York. He was the third of 4 kids. His father was an electrical engineer and his mother had various jobs. And I don't know why I put this here in my notes, but I wrote that I will say Tom Cruise seems to be kind of an embellisher and an exaggerator. There are a lot of stories he's told about his life where things don't really add up. I think the things I'll say now in his backstory I do think were true, but I'll mention if I'm not sure if it is. Yeah, he's told a lot of stories that you're kind of like, huh, did that really happen? And some people, friends from high school or whatever, have disputed things he's said, so very mysterious, that one. But yeah, apparently his family moved a lot because of Tom's dad's job.
Take a drink.
Take a drink. That's part of our drinking game. He attended 11 different schools growing up, which is crazy. And seems to be the key to success for some reason. It's a common trait we see in these mega famous people. Tom was apparently not a great student growing up. He was dyslexic. So was his mom and siblings, actually. So he really pushed himself to excel at sports. He had to learn to have really thick skin, being only 5'7". People picked on him for being small and for not knowing how to read. So I'm not saying he literally didn't, but that's what people said.
Yeah.
And so that he ended up having this very tough attitude because he had been picked on. And I guess even as a kid, people have said that he had a very my way or the highway attitude. And he was seen as sort of an alpha male, even in elementary school, middle school. And with his friends, they would always do hijinks, and he would always push things further and further. If they were doing, I don't know, climbing a cliff or something, he would say, oh, let's go higher, let's jump further. He was always taking things to the extreme. Yeah. And apparently at school, in middle school, all the girls had a crush on him. One of his classmates even said that as a kid, he was famous before he was famous.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. I never found him that good looking for him to warrant that level of appeal that he has. But that's just me.
Yeah, I think he is attractive. I don't think he's the hottest guy ever, but I did just watch Eyes Wide Shut, and there were a bunch of shots where I was like, oh wow, he is really good looking. I don't know. There is something charming about him, but
I am looking at his high school picture. He is really cute. He has a really good smile.
He does have a great smile. Yeah, Tom Cruise in the 80s, 90s was really handsome. Anyway,
wait, were you going to say there were kids in your high school like that? I feel they were in mine too.
Yeah, there were some kids in my high school who did feel famous. Even beyond just being popular. It was everybody knew them. They were just stars, even in high school.
And it was no matter where that person goes in their life, they will always be liked. People will always gravitate towards them. Everything will come easy to them. And that's not really how it is in life. They have hardships and struggles, but they just have that charisma that gets them in the door.
That charisma. When he was 11, his parents separated, and his dad did sound like a really mean, tough man who would yell and I think hit Tom a lot.
Oh.
And Tom's mom planned a really elaborate escape for her and her kids. And I feel like it must have been kind of traumatizing, the kind of thing where she woke up early and they had all their suitcases and it was like an escape.
Oh, gosh.
And she took them all to live in Louisville, Kentucky, where her family was, and they didn't even say goodbye to their father.
Wow. Must have been really bad.
I know. And now the family had no money. The dad didn't support them in any way, so I guess the kids had to like all pitch in. And I read that for Christmas they could only give each other acts of kindness.
Oh, wow.
But when Tom was 14, also, sorry, his backstory is a lot longer than Nicole's, but I feel like it's just crazier and there's more to say. When he was 14, he did attend a Franciscan boarding school that was paid for by his grandfather, his mother's father. And at this boarding school, he made the honor roll for the first time. And it seems like he was doing good there, like with all the structure. And a lot of publications claim that Tom was planning on becoming a priest because of this. But I don't think that was ever really true. He was only 14 when he went there, and he only went for a year. So I don't know. I don't think that was true.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he thought about it, but
yeah, maybe he thought about
seriously?
it. But I feel like there isn't really proof that he did. He just so happened to go to this boarding school. They had monks there, but, you know. Mm-hmm. Anyway, when he was 16, his mom remarried and the family relocated again to New Jersey. And in this school, he didn't immediately fit in, but he did get a serious girlfriend, and eventually he made friends with some guys. And I read that he did soccer and wrestling. Senior year, he finally made the football team, but third squad. But he was caught drinking, and he was kicked off the team. And Tom injured his knee running up and down the stairs because he was trying to lose weight for wrestling. And so he was kicked off the football team. Now he can't wrestle because he hurt his knee. And so he didn't really have anything to do. He was in the choir, and his friend suggested that he try out for the musical. He did, and people were blown away. They were just like, oh my God, this guy is amazing. And he got the lead role just out of nowhere.
Wow.
He had acted in elementary school plays,
okay,
but nobody knew that because he was a new student, you know? So he was the star of the play.
I know. He's such a good actor with like no training whatsoever. Like, what type of psychology or like
I know
makeup as a person does that require?
That's such a good question, Mel. I think there's something going on there. I don't know if it's like his having to reintroduce himself all the time at new schools, all the people he's seen. I don't know, but people have said many times that he's just a natural.
Yeah. He definitely seems like he's got bravado.
So he went to school with this girl named Lorraine Golly, who was actually an actress on a teen TV show. And so she was kind of famous at their school. And it was through her that he got an agent and found success. I guess her agent said, oh, do you know any cute guys or anything? And this girl said, Tom. He actually went, like, his last name was Mapother, so, and they called him Mapo as a nickname. So she suggested Tom, and then he went to the agent's office, and apparently the agent said, like, when she first saw him, said, you're going to be a star. But I feel like we always hear stuff like that. Like, really?
Yeah, what are the odds?
I know. You can just tell. I don't know. Maybe she said that to everybody.
Yeah.
After high school that summer, he commuted to New York every day to pursue acting. He dropped his last name, now only going by Tom Cruise only. And he started acting in stage productions, and he had odd jobs while he was going to auditions, and he started acting in commercials. Then he got an apartment in Manhattan with a roommate, and then he landed a small role in the movie Endless Love. I wrote just about his personality. I wrote, he is definitely very dedicated, passionate, sort of intense, very ambitious. But people, as I said, say that he's a natural-born talent and that he didn't have to audition and struggle for long. He got success basically after a few months of trying.
Wow.
Yeah, because then he was in this movie Taps, and then he had his big break in The Outsiders, and it was just going up and up from there. He actually very briefly dated, or at least he went on some dates with, Melissa Gilbert, who played Laura Ingalls on Little House on the Prairie.
Wow.
If you guys know her. I know, I didn't know that. In 1983, he starred in the movie Risky Business, which really turned him into a, sex symbol. And in the Andrew Morton book, I thought this quote was interesting. He wrote, "It seemed, at least to those who worked with him, that behind the polite, yes sir, no ma'am veneer was a young man out to take social and professional advantage of every possible situation." Very, very ambitious. He dated his co-star, the actress Rebecca De Mornay, for 2 years. And she talked about feeling like there was a competition between them after their breakup, that she was more successful than him at the time. So it seemed like he didn't like that. He felt competitive with her that she was an actress. Interestingly, though, Tom always dates actresses. Like, I've read that it's a thing that I think he even said he prefers to date actresses because someone who isn't an actor, like, wouldn't get him. It's that important to him. But he did date Cher for
I did
a little
not know
bit.
that.
I know. And she was 16 years older than him.
Oh, wow.
I know. But apparently he downplayed his relationship with her.
Oh.
Tom seems to have always been very concerned about his image. And even then, I think he didn't really think Cher was good for his image. 1984, his father died, and he was 22. So I think that was really complicated for him because he didn't have a great relationship with him. It's kind of sad, just like what could have been, you know?
Yeah.
He starred in Top Gun, which was released in 1986, and it was a huge success. Then he was in the movie The Color of Money, and he started dating Mimi Rogers, an actress, his co-star, who was 7 years older than him, and once divorced.
He likes the older ladies.
He does. And she was taller than him. Interestingly,
I feel like he probably has to date women who are taller than him a lot of the time.
A lot of the time, yeah. I mean, there are short girls out there he could go for sure.
Yeah. But it might limit his options a little bit, like.
Yeah.
But there's definitely women who are shorter.
Yeah. He is small, though. I was thinking that watching Eyes Wide Shut, like, there were a couple moments I noticed, like, wow, he looks small. So he's with Mimi Rogers, and it's actually Mimi who introduced Tom to the Church of Scientology. She had introduced it at a dinner party when they first met, and I don't know if this is true, but I read that it's very likely that she had been planning to bring Tom into Scientology for months before even meeting him.
That's weird.
That it was all orchestrated and planned. Okay, so I wrote in my notes a lot about Scientology and, like, what it is.
I really don't know that much
it?
about it. I just know that, like, it's kind of culty. Yeah,
I was surprised. It was different than I thought. So I'll tell you guys what it is. This is going to be, like, an eighth of the episode, probably. But Okay, so what is Scientology? It was created by Ron Hubbard in the 1950s, which is based on his theory of Dianetics, which is an alternative to psychotherapy. You know what I realized, Mel? That's in Phoebe's song Punisher, when she's like, if your thing's Dianetics and stucco or something. I don't know. She mentions it. Probably because it's, like, about LA or... I don't know. Anyway, based on his theory of Dianetics, which is when people revisit traumatic events called engrams, they can be removed only through an activity called auditing. So basically you talk about an incident that bothers you, and the auditor uses a machine to measure your emotional reaction. And if it seems like you're not reacting anymore, talking about this traumatic memory, if it seems like you're not having an emotional response, then you're officially clear from that engram, as they call it. And there's a fee charged for every session of auditing.
What does the auditing do? Like, is the machine doing something in your brain, or you're just talking about it? You're
just talking about it. It's almost like therapy or confession in a way. But they're saying that if the machine's... It's almost like a lie detector. If it's saying that it's not detecting an emotional response as you talk about this traumatic thing, then it's saying, oh, it's not bothering you anymore. You're clear from it.
Okay, so you're, like, desensitizing yourself from traumatic events.
Yes.
But you kind of have to pay to measure the amount that it is affecting you.
Yes. You have to pay to do this process. But then what's the spiritual aspect? So it started as this, and then he kind of, like, turned it into religion. The spiritual aspect is that they believe that basically we're all immortal souls with godlike potential called thetans. Because we're immortal beings, we need to get back to the trauma from millions of years ago. And interestingly, as you progress through Scientology, so it's like as you do more auditing sessions and you become clear of all your traumas, then you like rise in the ranks, like there's different levels to it, and then what you believe like changes as you go through Scientology. And when you obtain clear status, basically meaning like you're clear of your trauma, then you can become an operating Thetan. And operating Thetan texts are kept secret for most followers. They're revealed only after you've basically given hundreds and thousands of dollars to Scientology. And even though they've tried to keep these texts very secret, you know, only the top people can see it, they're apparently freely available to read online. And the texts say, apparently, that past lives took place in extraterrestrial cultures, and they involve an alien called Xenu, described as a planetary ruler 70 million years ago who brought billions of aliens to Earth and killed them with thermonuclear weapons.
Where did that come from?
I don't know. But most people doing Scientology, like, would not know that. Like, it wouldn't even be part of their experience. That's, like, what they say once you get to the end, basically. And that was leaked.
But we know that.
WikiLeaks. I know.
They know that?
I guess they do now. I know.
Unless it's, like, a cover-up and they believe something else.
Maybe.
And we just think they think that.
I like to think, I hope that most people don't believe that, because that just sounds so random. But I feel like it's not really much of a religion, more of like a ideological corporation. And because apparently they don't even believe in God. It's more like that every person is a god themselves.
Oh, so yeah, I feel like that would gravitate towards someone like Tom Cruise, who is very naturally self-confident.
Yes. It seems like a very narcissistic cult. And there's been a lot of government inquiries and superior court judgments in all different countries that have described Scientology as both a dangerous cult and manipulative profit-making business. And these institutions and scholars state that it's not a religion, that it doesn't really fit the criteria for it. And it does kind of annoy me that it's called Church of Scientology, because I feel like I used to think it was like somewhat Christian, but it's actually not at all. So it's just weird. And they use this cross. They have like a bunch of different symbols, but one symbol they use is like the 8-pointed cross, which apparently resembles the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, which was a secret society, for real, devoted to studying the occult in like the 1800s.
Oh.
So just creepy.
It does seem also like you have to be skeptical of anything that is like requesting hundreds of thousands of dollars from you, or anything that like requires you to rise up in the ranks.
I know. It is weird. So maybe you guys have heard before that people that are deemed hostile to the cult of Scientology, including ex-members, they are called suppressive persons, or SPs.
Oh.
If the organization declares that one of the members is an SP, all other members are forbidden from further contact with them in an act it calls disconnection, and any member breaking this rule is labeled a potential trouble source, PTS. Unless they swiftly end all contact with that trouble person, they can become a SP, suppressive person themselves.
That's so negative.
I know.
Come on. Why would you even want to be a part of that? Also, it's like, aren't you interacting with SPs all the time? Like people who aren't members? Like, why are you punishing?
I don't think people that aren't members are necessarily a problem, but you wouldn't want to be married to a non-member, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
But see, I almost feel like if I was their marketing person, I would be like, okay, that's kind of hurting you, because people don't want to maybe even experiment or try it out, because then they can't change their mind.
I know. It's a cult.
Yeah, exactly.
They've had a lot of scandals too. Members have infiltrated, wiretapped, and stolen documents from the IRS and like federal government. They've been charged with coercion, fraud, labor law violations, extortion, harassments, threats, coercing their female staff to get abortions, partaking in human trafficking, physical, sexual, mental abuse, all that. Like basically everything possible.
Why would anyone want to be a part of this?
I know. Well, that's what I was thinking. I can see if you don't even know about that side of it, if you're just introduced to it as like a way to move past your past and to, you know, level up and almost like become enlightened. And I don't know, I guess Tom Cruise maybe was struggling with things, maybe because of his family, I don't know, and maybe the auditing experience was really positive to him, so I don't know.
That is cool, the auditing experience. I kind of want to try that. Next thing you know, I'm in the Church of Scientology.
Don't do it.
That does sound cool, but also like a ripoff. Like, I guess, what do you
Who
really
knows if it's even
get
real?
from that? Yeah, exactly.
Like, is the machine actually doing anything? I don't know.
Seems like it's taking advantage of you.
Mm-hmm. And it never ends because they just like keep going back and back and back and like, what else can we talk about, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And then apparently you have to heal yourself from trauma from millions of years ago. So.
Oh, yeah. That's so silly.
But I know, I can see why it's attractive. And during the auditing process, apparently the auditor collects and records personal information from the client.
Oh, that's bad.
Even though they say it's confidential, they have a history of attacking former members using information culled from the records. And
oh, yeah. I bet they blackmail people.
yeah, I think people think, I mean, it's just a theory, but people think that's why a lot of people don't leave, is because they might be blackmailed. And why celebrities, like, why is it that celebrities seem to specifically get caught up in Scientology? I guess it's intentional. Ron Hubbard himself, even when he started this, established the Project Celebrity in 1955 with a list of major stars who might be persuaded to put on a good face for the organization. And they later opened celebrity centers described as like a special church of Scientology that would cater to the artists, politicians, leaders of industry, anyone with power and vision to create a better world. There's a lot more I could say about it, but I will stop for now.
Well, I feel like just one thing to that, I bet celebrities are the most vulnerable to feeling blackmailed. They're like the fear of blackmail because like if they have told all their dirty little secrets to an auditor, the stakes are much higher when people know who they are, that like, oh, this could be leaked to the public, everything from my life. Whereas like a regular person, yeah, it would suck, but no one really knows you, so no one cares about these personal things that you have confessed in an audit.
Like, how far could it really reach?
Yeah, but it could be career damaging for someone in the Church of Scientology who is a celebrity to leave it.
Yeah. So back to Tom and Nicole. So Tom married Mimi Rogers, the Scientologist, in 1987. So he was married before, and he was learning more about Scientology as he's with her. He continued to be in many movies. He got super invested in them, very intense. When he was filming the movie Born on the 4th of July, he played a veteran in a wheelchair, and to become immersed in the role, he really lived his life in a wheelchair all day. He put himself through apparently physical and mental torture, and he did get nominated Best Actor for it. And again for Jerry Maguire, he was nominated too. By 1989, Tom had been invited to the secret exclusive Scientology Gold Base in the Californian desert, and he's basically completely enmeshed in the world of Scientology by this point, which surprised me. I don't know why. I thought it happened later. I didn't know he was already so into it. I don't know why. I thought it happened like when he got with Katie Holmes, but I was wrong. He signed on to 1990's Days of Thunder movie for $10 million. It was supposed to be sort of like Top Gun for NASCAR. He had a lot of power in his leading role, and it was him that suggested that the leading lady, his romantic interest in the movie, should be Nicole Kidman after he'd seen her in the movie Dead Calm. So it was his idea. He was like, you should get her to do it. So Nicole, she was in Japan promoting that movie Dead Calm when she was asked to audition for Tom's movie Days of Thunder, but she still flew all the way to LA from Japan, which is crazy.
Wow. And she's single at this point, and he's married?
No, she has a boyfriend as well that she lives with.
Oh, okay.
I know. And he's married. Nicole went to the studio to meet about the movie, and she walked into a conference room with 6 men, and apparently Tom was the only one who stood and shook her hand, and that really impressed her. Nicole remembered feeling embarrassed to be looking down at Tom, that she was taller than him, She was worried that that would cost her the role. But she also said to Rolling Stone, "The moment I laid eyes on him, I just thought he was the sexiest man I had ever seen in my life. He took my breath away. I don't know what it was. Chemical reaction? Hard to define, hard to resist." And he said, "My first reaction to meeting Nick," yeah, he always calls her Nick. "My first reaction to meeting Nick was pure lust. It was totally physical."
Okay. Wow. That'd be a compliment.
I know. He is married, though. Oh, my God.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
Yeah, and she has a serious boyfriend. But after auditioning, she was called shortly after by the producer to tell her that she had gotten the role. And she said, "What about my height?" And he replied, "It doesn't bother Tom, so it doesn't bother us." I mean, he was that much of a star that, like, it was up to him, basically. And they began filming together in Daytona, Florida. Nicole and Tom began falling for each other. Tom sent her love notes and red roses almost every day.
While he's married?
Yes.
Oh.
I know. They went skydiving together. Apparently they kissed while they were in the air skydiving.
Wow. I feel like that... I would not want, if I was married, my husband to be skydiving with another woman. Well, this must be an affair.
It is.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know what's going on, I don't think.
Yeah.
He even brought Nicole to the Scientology Gold Base, arriving by helicopter, and they had their own private bungalow with a chef and butler.
So very grandiose, like very,
yes.
I could see getting swept up in this, and like a lot of adrenaline, like it's just, it really is a whirlwind.
It is. It's like the definition of whirlwind. Mm-hmm. It just seems like, I think it will come up again in the story later, but he always is giving Nicole gifts, like every day, roses and things, and like notes, and it just seems like that must be his love language, which is gifts.
We were just talking about this off the mic about
my
boyfriend.
About gifts specifically.
Yes.
And so I asked you guys on Patreon if you know what is your love language, and gifts, let me refresh the poll, but gifts so far has the lowest percentage. 6%. But you know what, guys? Mine is actually gifts. Me and Tom Cruise.
I think mine is also gifts for giving, but I don't know if it's receiving. I do like receiving gifts.
I know, it seems really shallow, I know. I feel like it gets a bad rep, but I feel like I've said this before, that I just love like physical mementos of things. Like it could be anything, it could be a rock, like it doesn't have to be a fancy gift, it doesn't have to be like helicoptering to a bungalow or anything. It could just literally be a piece of paper, but I just love like a little token and something that shows that you were thinking of me, you know? I took the test again. I was wondering, like, will it still be gifts? Maybe not, but it was. Our top love language that you guys said, most of you, 34%, said quality time.
I do. Nice. Honestly, it's so hard to pick. I like them all.
I know, they're all great. I feel like they're all important. Yeah. Second place is acts of service, 26%. Third place, physical touch, 20%. Words of affirmation, 14%. And then last, 6%, gifts.
Yeah. I feel like gifts does have a bad rep because it does seem superficial. But a lot, like you said, like it really is just a sentiment, a physical representation of thinking of someone. Like usually if your love language of is gifts, it's a sentimental thing. It's not just like a gift card that you got somebody. You spent money on someone.
That I would not like that. Like that would upset me actually, because it would feel like not very personal.
Yeah.
I'm surprised words of affirmation is so low. I think that might be my second one. I feel like I need assurance a lot. And when I was doing the quiz, I agree. Like they're all great. Like I feel like acts of service is super nice. But when I had to choose, like, would you rather your loved one like help with the dishes or give you a little gift? I'm like, the dishes can wait. I'd rather have a gift. Like, I have to pick that. Some comments. Michelle said, my husband bringing me a glass of ice water is my love language. Sweet. And yeah, same as you. Ariel said, I think I love to give people gifts, but I prefer quality time with someone.
Yeah.
Oh, Melanie said, I love acts of service so much. I used to be all about words of affirmation, After dating enough liars, I realized action is so much nicer than words. Acts that show someone is listening to you and cares about the things you care about.
So true.
I do think that it kind of depends on your recent experiences and like who you're with now, if anybody. Like, I don't know. I think that can change how you feel about things.
That's true. Like, I feel like I love physical touch too, but I feel like you could have a partner who's too physical, and then it's like, okay, do you only really care about
that's enough.
Being physical? Yeah, exactly. So it depends. Or you could have a partner who loves quality time, but then they're suffocating you. So
yes.
Sometimes you need to have a balance of the different love languages, and it needs to be compatible.
I almost feel like because I live with my boyfriend, like quality time I was almost overlooking, because I feel like, oh, we spent so much time together anyway. Like, I don't know. Because some of in the quiz it's like just being together and not doing anything. Like, yeah, I do like that, but I do that all the time. So. Yeah,
true. And I feel like it's confusing for me because they overlap. Like, quality time often includes physical touch or includes
true.
Words of affirmation or acts of service. So you can't have
quality
one
time,
without
but
the other.
No acts of service, no words of affirmation, being buddies.
That's kind of boring.
I know.
No, but that's still nice. But I do like my alone time too, so that's probably not my number one.
Yeah.
But acts of service, that's definitely my boyfriend's. He's always getting me water, just doing little things like that.
That's sweet. So they're filming this movie, Days of Thunder, in Daytona, Florida, and Tom's wife, Mimi, flew to Florida to visit him. And she was stunned when Tom told her, "I'm with Nicole now," and requested a divorce.
Yeah, that would be shocking.
It would be.
Like, wait, since when were you out looking for someone? Like, that's so weird.
From what I read about it, I mean, we weren't there, but it seems like it was very cold, just kind of like matter of fact, like, it's over. Things have changed,
kind of sociopathic.
It is.
And we've talked about this on the podcast. You lose them how you catch them. Like, that's just not a good sign. Like, if I was Nicole, I would not be attracted to somebody who would leave their wife in such an awful way. Like, at least be kind of guilty about it. Feel bad about it for a second.
I know. I almost did a poll about that, but I wasn't quite sure how to phrase it. And it also seemed extremely specific. But yeah, like get with someone while they're married.
Yeah, I always want to ask a poll like that, but like, who is going to vote? Yes, I would.
Someone might. If we did it on Instagram, I'm sure somebody would say.
I guess you could ask people, like, they ask, you know the movie, He's Just Not That Into You? Scarlett Johansson's character, I think, says, you know, what if you meet the love of your life, but there was someone else? Are you supposed to just walk away? Like, I guess, you know, that's something to question. Like, is it fate? Do you turn back on that? Or if someone's already unavailable, is that enough?
That is an age-old question. I feel like I could ask that for next week, too.
Oh. Why do these relationships start this way?
I know. I do think part of maturity is being able to walk away, though, and knowing that you could have a great time with a lot of people, but after the excitement wears off, like, I don't know, I think if you have a good life with someone, like, it's not worth it to throw away for maybe, like, equally nice, but I don't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly, the thrill.
It all evens out eventually, I think. It just seems exciting because you're not in that honeymoon phase anymore, but...
Yeah, well, we talked about that with Brad Pitt. Like, some people are addicted to the up and up that they feel in the beginning of a relationship, and they can never be satisfied with the inevitable cool down period where it's just nice and pleasant and stable, but they want the thrill again, but they'll never be able to sustain that with one person forever.
No, you cannot. But you are missing out on something great, I think, when you don't stick around, you know? But anyway, even though they were separating now, him and Mimi, he was still pretending to the press that him and Mimi's marriage was great. Like, he was still saying, like, oh, she's great. Like, you know, the relationship comes first. Like, he was still acting like they were together when they weren't anymore. I know. Days of Thunder was released. It was a box office success, and then it became public that Nicole and Tom were together, and their relationship was all over the news.
Mm-hmm.
And not long after, Tom bought a $4.7 million home in California for him and Nicole, and it seems like they both just ran headlong into this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And she dumped her boyfriend as well, obviously.
Yeah. I hope so.
Yeah. Apparently, Nicole's mom wasn't that surprised that it was moving fast because Nicole had done this before.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. That Dutch man that she ran off with, she had done things like this before. And she started to learn more about Scientology and Dianetics. But apparently the cult members thought she was a potential trouble source. And this is all according to sources from Scientology, like ex-members that have said this. They thought she was a PTS because she was a practicing Catholic, or at least she used to be, and her father was a psychologist. And I guess psychology is like the enemy of Scientology.
Yeah.
Which is surprising. Because, you wouldn't think it would be that different, but they hate psychologists. Probably because they could, like, debunk their whole thing.
Yeah, and it was psychology. It's always continually being studied, too. So,
yeah,
it evolves as a practice.
But Tom and Nicole didn't know about this. They didn't know that the other Scientologists were talking about how Nicole's a potential trouble source. They just thought it was all good. I mean, they really wanted to keep Tom Cruise happy, actually. Like, he was their darling. They did anything for him. So they weren't going to, like, upset him yet. They were just keeping an eye on Nicole Kidman.
But what a red flag of a, quote, religion anyway, that, like, they're cautionary about certain people joining because they might cause trouble. Isn't the point of most religions is you want as many members as possible? It's like they know that there are issues with it, and so they don't want some people to join.
I know. And I also think they really feel like they are above other people, like, because they've done all this auditing, they are, like, more godlike or something. Whereas I think other religions, people are, even if you don't believe it, they're somewhat looking out for other people. They're like, you need to connect to God, like
yeah,
they think it's for the other person. But I get the sense that Scientology, they don't really care about other people, like, if you improve or not. Like,
it's not about, like, humility or selflessness.
Yeah, it's very exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
And not long after they first started dating, a couple months, I'm not exactly sure when, but Tom proposed to Nicole by leaving a note on her pillow. He wrote, "My darling Nicole, I chased you and chased you until you finally caught me. Now will you marry me?" So less than 1 year after his divorce, Tom and Nicole married in December 1990 on Christmas Eve in Telluride, Colorado. Nicole was 23 and Tom was 28. So this time he's older. Mm-hmm. And Nicole was quoted saying, "I don't feel I'm too young to get married because I know that I've met the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. I feel totally certain about that." So she was confident. They starred in a film together again called Far and Away, which was released in 1992. And we wouldn't have known this at the time, but she has told us since then, the public, that in their first year of marriage, she had an ectopic pregnancy, which is when the fetus is, like, in your fallopian tube, and it's very dangerous. Yeah. And she said it was incredibly traumatic for her. Even though I do think, like, she was so young and so ambitious about her career, too. She had said many times that she wanted to have kids, like, she was ready to have kids with Tom already. And also in this early 90s period, the cult members had built a meadow of wildflowers just for Tom and Nicole at that bungalow at the Gold Base, because I guess Tom had said, they had said that it was a fantasy of theirs to run through a field of flowers together. And they could just go to a field of flowers somewhere, but 20 members of Scientology dug, hoed, and planted wheatgrass and wildflower seeds to make it happen and made a field of flowers for them.
Oh, wow.
Which is crazy. Tom continued to send flowers daily, apparently. I don't know if that's an exaggeration, but daily flowers maybe every couple of days, I don't know, and would leave notes for her. He bought her a dog, but he didn't realize that she wasn't an animal person.
Oh, wasn't an animal person.
Yeah, which kind of shows that he didn't really know her that well. And she said
that's
that she...
a big gift to get somebody.
I know. And to not realize, like, they're married, to not even know that your wife doesn't really like pets that much is...
Yeah.
Makes me think you don't know each other that well. She said that she didn't like clothes shopping, so he took over buying clothes for her. Okay, so now it's 1993. Tom and Nicole had said that they desperately wanted to have kids together. And again, we didn't know this, the public didn't, but after her ectopic pregnancy, they weren't sure if she could safely have kids. Mm-hmm. And I think that was an issue. And so in January 1993, only weeks after applying, they adopted a baby girl, Isabella Jane Kidman Cruz, they named her. And Nicole, so this has been a couple of years. I think she was 25, turning 26 when they adopted Isabella. It just seems really fast to me and surprising. And apparently because of this adoption, there were a lot of rumors swirling that Tom was sterile, that he was gay, or that Nicole couldn't have children. There were lots of stories in tabloids about this. Okay, so now they have this baby girl they adopted. They did have 2 nannies on call 24 hours a day, but they were both very hands-on. As hands-on as you can be for having 2 nannies. Tom was apparently very invested and almost obsessed learning about parenting and checking on Bella. Tom and Nicole had lived very scheduled, structured lives. They had someone waking them up at 8 and then checking on them 10 minutes later. Then they would work out, and then they would have oatmeal with the New York Times. So they had a very structured life, and I think that they tried to maintain that with having a daughter, but I think it was difficult. Nicole had been doing auditing sessions with Scientology, and apparently she had the option to move forward to the next level, but she was kind of procrastinating, stalling. She was saying that she was busy with filming, you know, that she'll do it soon. Whatever that even means. I don't know if there was like a ceremony or something, but some of the Scientologists were getting suspicious. Like, why is she putting this off, you know?
Yeah.
1994, October 1994, she told... I probably should have put that at the end of the year. Whatever, I'll just say... In 1994, she told Vanity Fair about her husband. She said, "He's quite eccentric. He's just an odd one. He has his own little quirks and mannerisms. He's kind of wild, and I love that." Interesting. And some people have said, I just thought about this when she said that Tom almost lives his life like it's all an act.
Oh, that's not great.
I know. I think that is kind of definition of like a capital N narcissist.
Yeah, or a sociopath.
Yeah. I do get that vibe from him. I gotta say.
Yeah, me too. I mean, even not to skip ahead in his life, but the fact that he like cut his own daughter out Surrey cruise, like because of Scientology, not to skip ahead at all, but it's like, okay, you had to question anybody that is that cold.
Yeah.
Or even his wife, his first wife.
Yeah. He can be very cold and matter of fact and just kind of like do what you gotta do. Like there's something missing in there. So, 94, he was cast as Lestat in Interview with the Vampire. And the reason that I'm talking this way is because my sister Caitlin, who's going to be on the show, she loves Interview with the Vampire. Well, she mostly loves the show that they recently made, and she's read the books, and she has a dog named Lestat. And the crazy thing is, he was already named Lestat when she adopted him.
The dog. Yeah.
Yes. It was like fate. She had to, obviously she had to adopt him. His name was Lestat already. So yeah, Tom plays Lestat in Interview with the Vampire, based on the books by Anne Rice. And Anne Rice was apparently so upset that he was cast, she publicly said that he is not her Lestat.
Oh, wow.
And he was deeply hurt by that. This was a huge role for him because up until this point, he had been named Sexiest Man Alive. He was known for playing all these all-American roles, you know, like NASCAR, flying planes. Like, he was really a man's man. And now he was going to play this, like, dark, seemingly bisexual or ambiguous sexuality villain vampire. Like, it's a very different character for him.
Androgynous.
Yes, androgynous. So it was exciting. But while this is happening, Nicole kind of felt like her career was in a slump, and she was determined to land more serious media roles. And I read that she was, this is just according to sources, I don't know if it's true, but I was reading that she was starting to act a little jaded and somewhat of a diva. I don't think any more than Tom Cruise acts, but she was just starting to expect that things be perfect, and I think she was getting a little just frustrated with her career, and I don't know. But then she landed a role in the film To Die For, which she really, really wanted. Was that the one? Was there something about Meg Ryan with that? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
Okay, which she really, really wanted. I think Meg Ryan maybe dropped out or something. And it was a very intense, dark role alongside Joaquin Phoenix and Matt Dillon. Maybe that's why I remember it, Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah, so then Interview with the Vampire comes out. And Anne Rice actually changed her mind. She said that she loved Tom Cruise in it. And she took out advertisements in New York Times and Vanity Fair praising the movie, and she said that he perfectly captured Lestat's strength, humor, and boldness. So he really rose to it. And now I have a video that I want to show you from the Interview with the Vampire premiere. I just think it's kind of funny, and I'm not sure how it will translate on the podcast audio-wise, so I'll just try to describe it. But it's at the premiere, and Tom seems like he's in a really good mood, and he just keeps saying, where's my wife? Where's my wife? And then he's Nick, calling to her, and then he sees her, and then he whispers in her ear and kisses her. And it's just interesting to see this, really candid moment between them. So I sent it to you.
Oh, that's
so
cool
much shorter.
To see. Yeah, he does. He does look like a fun time.
He seemed like he was in a really good mood.
Yeah.
I like that video. It's fun. It feels like you're at the party. I don't know.
She's so beautiful, too.
Oh,
but
she's
I almost
so
feel
beautiful.
Maybe I'm overanalyzing it, but she seems like a little reserved.
Yeah, she often seems that way.
He's kissing her, and she's not she's kind of leaning in, but she's not that handsy.
Yeah.
I almost feel like she's kind of, she's laughing at him. I don't know.
He does seem way more happy to see her.
Yeah.
She's just kind of hey.
Yeah.
What do you want?
Yeah.
He must be drunk. I don't know.
Yeah.
Where's my wife?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting, though. In 95, they adopted another child, their son Connor, in February 1995. So he would have been in my grade. Crazy. They're like my parents. Weird.
Yeah.
That's so weird. Nicole's career was doing well after her role in To Die For, which is what she wanted. And she actually won a Golden Globe for it. And then she landed a role in the movie Portrait of a Lady, and she felt that she needed to be alone to focus, to prepare, leaving Tom with the kids. I think she just went off somewhere, stayed somewhere else, and she was insisting on wearing her 19-inch corset all the time to really feel what it was like for Lady Jane, who she was playing. And it's just like Tom. It seems like she was doing the same kind of thing, getting so absorbed in a role. So they have that in common. And he was also filming Mission Impossible, but I think was with the kids. And then, winter 1995, they received a letter from the director Stanley Kubrick that said that he wanted to work with both of them and that they would receive a script from him soon. And the movie turned out to be Eyes Wide Shut, the erotic thriller that was filmed in England over a 2-year period. And yeah, in this movie, Kubrick really wanted to study possession and power relationships within a marriage and wanted to cast a real-life married couple for the role. And they were encouraged to basically play themselves. And since they were both people that loved to research their roles and go deep, it kind of meant that they had to go really deep into their own relationship. And yeah, I just watched this movie for the first time. I'd wanted to see it for a while, and it's really interesting. It was a good movie, and even though I described it as an erotic thriller. Some parts of it weirdly felt cozy. It just felt filmed that way, you know, like the 90s, and there's like a lot of Christmas lights, and I loved the way it looked. Yeah, it's I was preparing for it to be like this super sexual movie, and it is, but I honestly don't think it is as much as Poor Things. It's not as bad as that.
Yeah, I feel like now when you watch anything from that time period, like the 90s, it's almost like a Meg Ryan movie in the sense that it has that nostalgic element to it.
Yeah, like shot in film. And it just, it has a good atmosphere. It is interesting, though, because it is about a man that, like, finds this secret society and people wear masks and it's like super weird and people are threatening him and he's not supposed to know things, and it's interesting because it kind of reminds me of Scientology in a way. Like, it seems like there's levels to it and secrecy, and it's just interesting that they're in this movie that sort of, I think, reflected their own life. And in the movie, it's not really a spoiler or anything. Like, there is this secret society and it's like hinted at that there's really important people in it. That also reminds me of Scientology. You know, there's a lot of famous people in this cult. But it was a very intense shoot. Apparently, Stanley Kubrick kind of pushed things too far with the sex scenes. I think made Nicole feel kind of uncomfortable. But it's really not as bad as Poor Things, though. I was, like, preparing for, like, super graphic, but it's not really. But, Nicole said, though, we were happily married through that Eyes Wide Shut. We would go-kart racing after intense scenes. We'd rent out a place and go racing at 3 in the morning. Okay, now we're in 1998. Tom sued a British publication for accusing Tom and Nicole for having a fake marriage to cover up the fact that they were gay and that's why they had adopted their children.
Oh. That they both were gay?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I think mostly him, but they were saying both.
Yeah, I mean, that is so shitty and terrible that these publications would even insinuate that just because they adopted.
Yeah. It's interesting because also in the movie, there's like a couple moments where Tom's character is called gay, or like people call him slurs and stuff. And the book I read was like, they didn't have proof of this, but he was kind of wondering if Stanley Kubrick was like antagonizing Tom Cruise. Like it seemed like he was really sensitive about this, and there were a lot of rumors about this at the time. So I don't know what the deal is, but he ended up suing and winning the case. And Tom stood triumphantly on the court steps with his lawyer, saying that he'd donate the money to charity. But Nicole actually wasn't there, which people thought was weird. And Tom said that she just had a cold, but many people suspected that she didn't want to be involved in all of this and that she was upset. Again, this is speculation, but she was upset because all the details of her ectopic pregnancy were made public for this case, basically to like prove that that was the reason they adopted, or it's so weird that they had to do that. But I mean, they didn't have to, but he wanted to sue, so you know. And I guess he had been like obsessed with winning this case. I don't know if it was like to prove his masculinity or something, but
yeah.
And I read, this is like according to sources in that unauthorized biography, that she was starting to kind of retract from his intense affections, gifts, and trip ideas. She was starting to fall out of love with him, the book said. And that she didn't really like hanging out with Tom's old New Jersey friends and would act sort of distant when they were with them, but then she was all bubbly and happy when she was with her friends, like Naomi Watts. And quote, gay men of the fashion world from the Andrew Morton book. And I read, I don't know if this is true again, but that Nicole would start pulling away and would sometimes go days without calling, and that Tom was constantly with the kids but was very controlling with them.
Yeah. Well, I'm picking up what you said about it being all-consuming. I could see her being like, you know, after the initial ecstasy of the relationship wearing off, being like, okay, this is too much. Like, yeah. This guy's kind of annoying. It's still going on.
Yeah. It is interesting, though, because of something I'll read in a second. Even though I just read that she was kind of, like, pulling away and, like, being turned off by the gifts, it seemed like she did like it, too. But actually, I do kind of have to go to the bathroom and want to top off my drink.
I do, too. Okay, so we'll take a little break.
Let's take a break.
Okay. So
I have something that I didn't know existed I feel kind of conflicted about it.
What?
But I think I'm going to share it anyway.
What?
So, March 1998, apparently their phone conversation was illegally recorded and sent to newspaper magazines, just like Charles and Camilla.
Yeah. This is probably widely known, though.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I didn't know about it, and I do feel bad about it.
Well, it's kind of before our time.
It's before our time. I mean, we didn't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's already out there. Like, we can't leave it out of the story.
Yeah, I mean, it's just journalism.
I do feel bad, but I feel bad, but I still do want to share it because it's so interesting. It's just a transcript of it. It's really long, so I already cut some of it out, and I think I'm gonna have to skip over some things anyway. This is what it says. So this was March 1998. It starts. Tom said, "Nick, come on, you've just gotta fucking let up on me for a second, okay? Yes, you do. Nick, look at the things that I do, all right, and stop making me walk around. That makes me feel terrible, you saying that. It makes me feel like shit, and I don't like feeling like shit. You should make me feel good." Nicole, "Oh, God, get off it. You don't like feeling like shit. Make yourself feel good." And Tom said, "I'm telling you, Nick. I'm telling you how I feel, too." Nicole, "We've been hanging by a fucking thread, okay? A thread. You know it, and I know it." Tom, "Nick, I want this relationship, okay? You know that, and I've been making an effort. I have been." And Nicole, "Tom, you know you haven't." Tom, raised voice, "What are you talking about? How much more of an effort? Do you want me to fucking drive you to work every day?" No, I'm telling you, Nick, it's like you're being unreasonable, man, and I'm sorry, but you are being fucking unreasonable." Nicole, "No, you know." Tom, "What do I know, Nick?" Nicole, "Just look at your behavior." Tom, "Because it's frustrating, Nick. That's why I'm yelling, because at a certain point, an individual has to say, 'What are you talking about?'" Nicole, "Not an individual, Tom. Stop talking in generalizations. You know exactly what I'm talking about, and you can yell and scream and carry on and swear, but you know exactly what I'm talking about." Tom, "No, I don't." Nick, "Tell me what I haven't done. I didn't go out to set tonight to see you." Nicole, "Not tonight, Tom. Have you done anything? Have you come out to set once? Okay. Have you sent me a rose? Tom, "Have you sent me a rose? I came home with 2 roses." Nicole, "Did you give me anything? Did you give me a note? Did you give me a bunch of flowers?" Tom, "Nick, did I get any flowers when I came back from Eyes Wide Shut? I was waiting here. I had the candles lit. I had a bath ready for you." Nicole, "I don't really want this, okay? I don't want to spend my whole dinner break on the phone yelling." Tom, "No, because you think about what you don't have, Nick. Why don't you try thinking about what you do have?" Nicole, "No, Tom, I know what I have. I have 2 glorious, beautiful children. I had a great relationship that is now not a great relationship. Okay? I know that. Tom, "Okay, Nick, all right, okay." Nicole, "I have a career that I work very, very hard at, and so do you, but I have a loving, loving family. I know all of this." Tom, "All right." Nicole, "And until we start admitting something and dealing with this stuff, it's never going to go anywhere, Tom. It just gets worse and worse. You know, it surprised me that I didn't get anything on the first day of shoot." Tom, "Right, Nick, I brought you the most beautiful Indian jewelry a week ago for finishing a picture and for starting your new picture. I knew everything was going on, honey. Come on. You knew I went out of my way. You knew. It's about the fact that I love you, Nick." Nicole, "A little red rose. It's something. You want to know something? No, Tom, it's not." I guess the tape kind of became inaudible. And then she says, "You yell and scream and hurl abuse and say I'm so fucked to have a relationship with, and I'm so awful, and I'm such a bitch, and all this stuff. Well, you want to know something? That's really bad. That's bad." Tom, I know this." Nicole, "And that's what they name in emotional abuse." Tom, "I know. Also the emotional abuse that I'm under." Nicole, "Tom, there's no love here, right? You're under emotional abuse. I'm abusing you. You're abusing me. Tom, this isn't worth it. You have 2 very unhappy people, okay, who spend too much time apart and in the past have hurt each other too much." Tom, "Nick, everything's fine, and then it's like you go on, I didn't get you a rose for starting a week ago. A week ago you were just going, and I just got you beautiful Indian jewelry. It's like one thing I don't do right. It's just..." Nicole, no, it's not, and you know. Tom, yes, it is, Nick. I come home, I've got 2 roses for you. I'm so happy to see you. I come home, you come home. I've got candles lit. I've got the kids organized for you in bed. And what do you say? I don't think she answered. So now I'm skipping ahead. They seem to make up a little bit. Well, nah, maybe not yet. Tom says, listen to me, Nick. Just listen to me. I miss you. I love you. I think about you all day long. You're a knucklehead. I'm a knucklehead for thinking that I don't care. I'm not loving. I'm embarrassed that I was tired last night. I apologize, okay? Tom, it's every night. Tom, that's not true. Honey, that's not true. I'm recovering from a broken foot. Look at a little of the effects. Nicole, I do look at some of the things. You say you're exhausted. How do you think that makes me feel? I'm just trying to do something for our son. Tom, just give him a cake and he's happy, and a movie and dinner, and it'll just be you, me, and Isabella. You know, I love you, okay? I care about you, and I care for you, and I love you. Think of a husband, you know, I mean... Nicole, Tom, all I hear is, you gotta come. I don't hear any consideration for me or anything. And then angry yelling at me on the phone. I come back and all the time you're saying how exhausted you are. Well, I'm sick of it. Tom, hey Nick, listen to me, okay? Come on now. It's 11 p.m. at night. I've been up since 6:30 in the morning, okay? Nicole, but every night, why don't you have a little bit of excitement and say, hi, baby? Tom, I did, and then I said, hey, baby. Nicole, no, you did not, Tom. Tom, I can take a little excitement. I've been waiting for you. Nicole, I don't want to go on and on. There's someone listening on the phone. Tom, who's there? Nicole, you know, people outside. Oh, fuck 'em. We're on the cellular. Oh, fuck 'em. I don't care. We're right on location. There'll be someone sitting outside. Hey, Nick. What? Nick, it's going to be better. We're going to be all alone together on Sunday with the kids. He'll have his cake. He'll love it. He'll have a ball. All he cares about is that chocolate cake and getting some presents. And then it seems like they kind of make up. Tom says, okay, listen to me, okay? I love you. Just know that, all right? We're not by a thread. She says, yeah. He says, all right. Nicole whispers, I love you. He says, sleep. Nicole says, bye. And Tom says, I love you, bye.
Wow.
That's a lot.
I would not expect a rose on like the first day of the new job, especially when you're an actor. You're starting a new job all the time.
It must be a thing for actors, because I remember Elizabeth Taylor expected gifts for the start of every movie. It's so strange to me.
I've never gotten a gift for a new job. Ever.
I know. Never.
I really wouldn't expect that. But yeah, that must be a courtesy. Too much.
I know.
They should let that go. That's way too much.
I know. I mean, supposedly he just got her Indian jewelry, so...
Yeah, that's pretty
Why
nice.
do you need...
See, I feel like I said, I like gift giving. I love gift giving. But that can't be all you have. It
Not
seems
like
like that
that,
relationship started on kind of a superficial foundation. And now it's like, they're like, do you even like me? You're not buying me gifts anymore.
Yeah. It almost seems to me maybe she got used to that, and I it's kind of contradicting what I read before, because it said like, oh, she was pulling away and wasn't interested anymore. But it seems like she's upset that he's not giving her as many gifts, so I don't know if then he kind of stopped. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't really sound like it if he just gave her roses and earrings or jewelry.
It kind of makes sense, though, because if that's how your relationship started, that would be like your measure of the other person's affection. And if that dwindles, it would be kind of scary to be like, oh, wait, maybe they don't love me as much anymore.
Yeah. I thought it was funny how she was tired of him saying he was exhausted at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So normal. But yeah, I think he is kind of acting, I don't know how far it is. I don't know if it's that he's checked out or he just kind of like is normal now. Like he's not being hyper active with the gifts and all the ideas and everything, but he's just kind of chilled out. And I think that she's worried that that's a bad sign. You know? Yeah.
Well, it doesn't seem, I guess when they're both so busy working too, it's like, doesn't seem like they are spending time together otherwise at the end of the day when they go to bed, and there's not much there. But like you said, I don't think they really knew each other at the beginning of the relationship anyway, so not really a good dynamic. But it's funny. I mean, we don't know how the beginning of the conversation started, but it seems like it's not about anything. There isn't like one incident that they're fighting about and they're trying to problem solve. I guess maybe like the birthday party.
Yeah.
But it's more just like, I can't believe someone recorded this. It's like a big like
I know.
conversation of like, oh, should we even be together? That's so crazy we have that.
It is crazy. It is like a super dramatic conversation. It's not just them saying like, oh, what time are you going to be home? Like, okay, yeah, I picked up this. I'll put it in the fridge. Like, you know, it's not just like this boring conversation. It is like, we're hanging on by a thread.
Seriously. Do we know who recorded that? Someone in Scientology, I'm guessing.
No, it was actually a journalist, and it was a celebrity photographer somehow. I don't know how he did it. I don't know how people do that, hacking and everything, but recorded it, and he was actually fined and jailed for it.
Wow. Yeah, it does seem illegal.
I hope it's okay that we read it.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm just reading it off a website. I had nothing to do with it.
No, seriously. It's public information. It's out there now.
Yeah, so crazy. Man, I don't think either of them came off very good in that conversation. I'll just say that. But I mean, they didn't, no one ever thought it would be out there, so I do feel bad. But an associate said that it seemed like Tom still loved Nicole, but she had grown out of love and was unhappy. He liked the chase and that she was unattainable. This associate, unnamed person, also described Tom as a jock and that he wasn't as sophisticated as Nicole, and that Nicole felt like she'd outgrown him.
Yeah.
Shortly after this, or around this time, Nicole starred in a play called The Blue Room that was very sexual. It had her do sex scenes and appear naked on stage alongside her co-star Ian Glenn. And apparently Tom and Ian did not get along, and Ian would flirt with Nicole right in front of Tom when they would go out to dinner. Ian was married too, but there were rumors that Nicole was having an affair with Ian, and I was wondering, who is this guy? And I Googled him, and I was like, oh my God, because he was on Game of Thrones, and he is hot.
Ooh.
He was really, I mean, on Game of Thrones, he's like 50 or something, and he's even hot on Game of Thrones. But like when he was younger, he was a really attractive guy. So
yeah, he is.
He's beautiful. So I can understand her being attracted to him. I don't know. And Tom being jealous. Crazy. And apparently Tom went to see her in this play over 20 times. So just keeping an eye on her.
I'm just looking at pictures. Yeah, he is really attractive.
Whew. I know, I got kind of sidetracked with that plot line. 1999, they're both beginning some big name projects. Moulin Rouge, Mission Impossible 2. Yeah, he had done Mission Impossible 1 already. Magnolia. In early 1999, apparently Tom received a notice from Scientology executives about a potential trouble source, his wife, because in a recent interview, Nicole had said that she was a little Buddhist, a little Scientology, and that she was raised Catholic, and that a big part of her was still a Catholic girl. I guess they were concerned about that.
Yeah.
Very shortly after Eyes Wide Shut came out, the director Stanley Kubrick died. And I guess they both were really distressed about this. They had spent a lot of time with him. And Tom sort of became like a control freak over like handling the rest of the movie, like the distribution of it and logistics of the movie. So I guess he died before the movie came out. And there were more rumors coming around about their relationship, and more suing happens, more rumors about an affair. There was this story about how Nicole was interviewing with a journalist and apparently was on a hotel bed with the journalist, apparently just flirting. And Tom called her from home, and she answered with the guy. And I don't know, I don't think anything really came of it, but it seems like he's getting like overwhelmed thinking that his wife is so sexy and all these men are into her, and he was kind of freaking out. But Tom had repeatedly said that he could handle the sex scenes that she was in, and that everything he'd seen so far, he could handle it.
So do they have nannies watching their kids most of the time? Okay.
I know when they first got their daughter, they had 2 that were on hand 24/7. So
oh, wow.
I'm guessing they still did. So now it's 2000, and December 2000, so I guess that's the end of the year, on their 10th wedding anniversary, they renewed their vows. However, things were actually not going that well between them.
I often feel like that's the case with celebrities. Like, you hear about them renewing. Yeah, I feel like you hear about these celebrities, like, renewing their vows. And it gives the impression that, oh, wow, they're a really solid couple. But then, like, a year later, you hear that they get divorced. And it almost seems like it's, like, a desperate last plea to reignite their marriage. I remember John and Kate It did it. I remember, I think Seal and Heidi Klum would do it, like, every single year. And it never actually means anything.
I wonder if it's because they go through this really difficult time. Maybe she was cheating with Ian Glenn. I don't know. Like, maybe, or I don't know. I don't want to put that on Nicole Kidman, but maybe they were having a really horrible time, and they kind of got through it, and they're like, all right, like, let's start anew. But sometimes you can't really forget things that happen. Especially if things keep happening. And things weren't going well. He apparently wanted the children to grow up in Scientology, but she did not. And she wanted to spend more time in Sydney to be near her family. And they both were still super career-oriented, so it was getting difficult to compromise in any way. And in February 2001, February 4th, on a Sunday, Tom's lawyers provided documents to Nicole out of nowhere, announcing that Tom wanted a divorce.
Wow.
Less than 2 months after renewing their vows.
Yeah, that's so business. Like, it's a business transaction at that point.
Yeah. It's like the same way he did it with Mimi Rogers, just matter-of-factly being like, I want a divorce.
Yeah, seriously. Isn't there supposed to be like a conversation?
I know.
Wow.
According to court documents, she was shocked and suggested counseling, but he insisted that the decision was final after 10 years together.
That's scary.
I know. Apparently, Tom hired a detective to follow Nicole. But then the detective got arrested.
For following her?
I guess. I don't know. And Nicole hired her own private eye to make sure no one was wiring her phone or anything. It got really messy with a lot of other people involved. Like, there's a lot to it, I could say, but basically it was just really messy. And tragically, while details of their divorce were being worked out, Nicole actually suffered a miscarriage because she'd been pregnant, which is really sad. I mean, that's like such a horrible time to be going through that.
Yeah. Wait, did he know that she was pregnant when he issued the divorce papers?
I don't know if he did, but I read that he sent flowers to her but did not visit.
Oh, that's shitty.
I know! Like, what the hell? How does that happen? Like, you were so in love with her, obsessed, sending roses all the time.
If I got... Honestly, receiving flowers would be worse than nothing at all. That's cold. That almost is like salt in the wound at that point.
It seems like he just completely discarded her.
Capital N, narcissist.
And I don't know. This is me just inferring and kind of reading between lines. I mean, we don't know them. I know I probably shouldn't do this. But I feel like she was sort of in more of a power position at this point, and that she had a lot of men falling in love with her. She was being really seen as this, like, beautiful sexual lady. And I feel like she was kind of losing interest, or at least she was just branching out from him. I'm not saying that she wanted to leave him, but I think that she was becoming more her own person outside their marriage, and I feel like he couldn't handle that. He wanted someone to be, like, obsessed with him, and I feel like once he started to feel that that he was just like, okay, this is over. But that's just me guessing. August 8th, 2001, they were officially no longer husband and wife, but unfortunately they still had to do press for the movie The Others, which she starred in, and he was the producer.
So awkward.
Yeah. Nicole told a magazine after the divorce, "Now I can wear heels." and everybody laughed.
That.
Yeah, and her career was doing really great after their marriage ended. She was nominated for Best Actress for Moulin Rouge in 2001, and then she won Best Actress for The Hours in 2002. And apparently she started reconnecting with her Catholic faith, which is nice. She was, getting away from Scientology. But even though that all sounds great and all, like she's on the up and up, it's not that simple, because even though they had joint custody of their children, apparently behind closed doors, the children remained apparently loyal to their father and decided to live with him and were raised in the cult of Scientology. I find
old
very
were
suspicious.
The kids? Yeah.
They would be young. Like, if the oldest is like, oh no, the younger one is like my grade, right? I said.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was 2001. So like first grade. I guess the girl would be like in third grade or something.
So why do you find it suspicious?
I just don't even get how a kid can decide that.
Yeah.
And why, even if a kid said that, like, why would it matter? Like, it's not up to the kids,
Yeah, especially if there's a court issue that they have joint custody.
Yeah.
Like, I also feel like kids at that age are just inherently bonded with their mother most of the time.
I know. I just find it so weird. I can't really wrap my head around it. So, Katie Holmes, that's a whole other story, but when she started dating Tom Cruise, and this is jumping ahead, I guess she did very much step into the role as like stepmom to them. Mm-hmm. And I guess Nicole mostly kept in touch with them over email and webcam, but she didn't really see them that much. And and people think it's because of the whole Scientology thing. She was seen as a, what is the phrase, like problematic person, or yeah. But I still don't get how that could happen, though. How legally could she not really see her children? Or like, how would they end up with Tom? Like, I don't get it.
And those kids were so young, like, it's not like they would be willing to make that decision to not see their mom because she's not a Scientologist anymore.
I know.
Like, to a kid, what does that matter? But I guess maybe they're so indoctrinated at such an early age that, like, maybe they believe, like, oh, someone leaving Scientology, they're a bad person. And I bet Tom Cruise maybe was, like, telling the kids stuff that turned them against Nicole, like maybe saying she cheated on me, she's the reason our family is breaking up, like traumatizing those kids in some way to abandon their mother.
Yeah, maybe. I can't, I don't know. I mean, I think obviously the problem like is Tom, but I am just questioning what was going on with Nicole. Like, I just don't get why she couldn't just take the kids. Like, I just don't get why she wouldn't see them. Like, I can't figure it out.
Yeah, like, maybe was she not fighting hard enough for them?
I don't know.
Seems like somehow Katie Holmes was able to get her daughter out.
Yeah.
Like, what did she do that Nicole didn't?
I don't know. And I'd have to research more the Katie Holmes thing, because I don't even get, okay, the church is like threatening them. Are they like threatening their life? Like, how serious is this? Like, why can't you see your kids? The law would be on their side. I think they don't like Scientologists. Like, I just don't get how this cult could do this. And even if they were threatening to, like, do they have something on Nicole? What would even be worth it to, like, I feel like no matter what my darkest secret is, like, I wouldn't care. I would let it be out there. Is it Tom's? Are they blackmailing him? Like, who cares what his secret is? Like, I can't wrap my head around this scenario.
Yeah, I know. I guess only if they were threatening your life would you back off. But even then, I feel like a parent's love is like so strong that you would fight for your kids so wholeheartedly.
Because couldn't she, I mean, it would be really messy and difficult, but couldn't she take them and, like, how did he even get custody? Like, couldn't she say, like, he's in a cult?
Yeah.
Like, give me my kids? Like, I just don't understand how this happened.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't get it either.
But
that's so weird.
She apparently hasn't been pictured with her adopted children with Tom since 2007. She could have still seen them, but it wasn't photographed. And she apparently was devastated after her kids didn't attend her father's funeral in 2014. So, I mean, now the kids are older. Still 2014, like, well, I don't know. They would be, like, college age, I guess. So,
yeah.
I guess they decided they wanted to stick to Scientology and stick with Tom, which is crazy.
I know, but I guess, yeah, if she had been more of a present in their life, would they have bonded with her more to be so loyal to Tom?
I know.
Those kids must have been so brainwashed, I'd have to assume, from such an early age that, like, it was almost impossible for her to win them over in some way.
Yeah. It's sad. It's really sad. Like, I just can't even imagine that. I mean, being with your kid every day. Mm-hmm. They're your children, and then you just don't really see them.
The different element here is, like, they're not with their kids every day. Like, they have a nanny.
That's so
watching them most of the time. So, like, I hate to say it, but, like, is the bond not as strong?
Maybe. Yeah, there's just something weird about, beyond just even the fact that, like, they're Scientologists, there's just something weird about it.
I know. I always find it so odd about, like, these celebrities who are estranged with their kids, but, like, as a public figure, we know that. Like, I feel like it's pretty taboo in real life. Like, you probably have a friend or someone who, like, doesn't speak to their one of their parents or whatever, but, like, to know that, like, a parent doesn't speak to their kid, it's such a sad thing to think about. And it's just weird that, like, we know that. The whole world knows that you don't have this relationship. It's something that's so personal, but...
Yeah. She has recently talked about it, and she's to Who magazine and said, "I'm very private about all that. I have to protect all those relationships. I know 150% that I would give up my life for my children because it's what my purpose is. They are able to make their own decisions. They have made choices to be Scientologists, and as a mother, it's my job to love them." And she added that Connor and Isabella are adults.
Yeah, that is interesting, though, because saying that I would give up my life for them, like, if there was any type of blackmail when they were younger, she definitely was in a position where she could fight for the kids to be with her at least half of the time.
Yeah.
Maybe she did up to a point, but they just, like, didn't want to see her. I don't know. So,
right after the relationship, Tom... So, rewinding a little bit, he actually briefly dated Penelope Cruz, which... One is weird because it's almost the same last name, but just spelled differently.
True.
Pronounced the same. Two, odd because he courted her basically the same way as he did with Nicole. Like, he saw her in a movie and he wanted to work with her and was like, let's get her to be in the movie. And then it overlapped at the end with Nicole, actually. And Nicole said that he swore up and down that there was nothing going on with Penelope Cruz, but then they were together.
Ooh, that's disturbing.
Yes. And then he dated Sofia Vergara, actually, which I didn't know.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I know. And then Katie Holmes, of course, and they had their daughter, Siri Cruz, who's 18 now. And as you said, it's believed that Tom has no involvement in her life. Nicole, after their divorce, she was rumored to be dating the Counting Crows frontman Adam Duritz and Russell Crowe. And then she was briefly engaged to Lenny Kravitz, which I find crazy because then she was in Big Little Lies with his daughter later in life. Yeah. And then she married Keith Urban, and they had two daughters, Sunday Rose and Faith Margaret, and that's where she is today. Tom, I feel like, is trying to have kind of a comeback, but I do feel like Scientology has sort of ruined his reputation. You know, people do think, I think people still do have, like, nostalgia for his early movies, and people kind of miss that, but I do think in a way now when people think of him, they're a little creeped out by
he scares people stuff. Yeah. And I feel like the alpha male thing has gone too far. I know during COVID there was like a video that came out a couple years ago where he was like yelling at everybody on set about mask mandates and stuff, and like,
oh my gosh,
even if you are on his side, it's like you should not be speaking to people like that at work. How would you speak to people behind closed doors? Nicole and Keith do seem really happy. I'm happy for her.
Yeah, they do. They're still together. I feel like it's been a long time. They always are standing like so close to each other, like holding hands, I've noticed, like at award shows. They're very touchy.
He seems like a gentle soul, Keith Urban. I know nothing about him, but...
You know more than me. I don't even know that, but good. I hope they stick together. Odds that Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise get back together?
Oh, nothing. I don't even think they're... It's so interesting, though, in Hollywood. Like, they had such a contentious relationship, but I bet they've been in the same room since then.
I mean, this woman acts like she's in so many freaking things, as I said in the beginning. Like,
Yeah.
because Charlie and I were looking at her after I rented the movie. We were looking at her little, it was on Amazon, like her actor profile and all her movies, and I just couldn't believe it. Like, oh my gosh, she's in this and this and this and this and this. Like, yeah, they must have been in the same room. That's wild.
At some
and that's
award
kind of
show.
sad too, though, because if she's like estranged from their kids,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then she's at like an award show and sees their dad, like that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's weird.
I wonder if she's in a way kind of like given up on having a relationship with those kids.
Maybe she just wants to throw in the towel on the whole cruise thing. I
mean, that could have, I was thinking that too. That could have been it. Like maybe she just really wanted to leave Tom behind, that she, I hate to say it, but like was willing to just let him have custody so she didn't have to deal with him.
That's
but
sad.
I would hope not.
Spooky.
I know. It actually is really creepy.
Ooh, Scientologists.
Have you ever watched Leah Remini's documentary? I've watched a little bit of it about. She was raised a
Heard of it.
Scientologist from the time she was young, and
Wow, so like his
left.
kids, I guess.
Sounds like some crazy stuff. Like even like Danny Masterson, who was on that '70s show, he is a Scientologist, and like he,
Wow.
trigger warning, he was arrested for raping women, and his accusers claim that the Church of Scientology sent people to poison their dogs, their like
What?
dogs, and kill them to silence them and to not speaking out
My God.
against him.
Maybe she did fear for her life or their life.
Yeah, I mean maybe.
That's
Especially
crazy.
since Tom is so high up there.
Yeah. I wonder if he still like loves it or if he feels trapped.
Yeah. I know, because in a way, like you said, his power or his reputation in Hollywood is almost hindered by Scientology at this point.
Yeah, but it seems like he's sticking with it. Well, that's Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise.
Oh, that was so interesting. Thanks, Cal. Who are we talking about next week?
Next week, I'm sticking with the Halloween theme. This is a very gothic couple, I would say. It is a novelist and a poet, and it's another historic one. And that's all I'll say about that.
Oh.
Is that too vague?
Well, there are always people who guess it each week.
Yeah.
And if
True.
you guys want to guess, every week on our Instagram, the day before the episode comes out, we ask you guys to put your guess in about who it's going to be. And it's so fun every week to see who people think.
It is so fun. So, yeah. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll get back together next week.
Bye.
Is your heart filled with pain? Shall I come back again? Tell